Hello everyone. Today we will go through the general principles of care and protection of children that must be taken care while administering justice for juvenile. Section 3 of the Juvenile Justice Act 2015 provides for the general principles which guides the government, courts and other agencies while implementing the provision of Juvenile Justice Act. It highlights legal provision, rational and important judicial interpretation. Today, we would understand principle of presumption of innocence and circumstantial evidence. The first principle is the principle of presumption of innocence. It is a core child-centric principle and it says that any child shall be presumed to be innocent of any mala fide or criminal intent up to the age of 18 years. Since children lack full maturity and understanding of the consequences, this principle presumes that anything done by the child or child in conflict with law has been done without mens rea or mala fide intention. Now we try to understand the implication of this principle of presumption of innocence. By virtue of this principle, the child is treated as innocent until proven otherwise. And this principle starts from the moment of apprehension, arrest, detention, and would continue through the entire investigation and trial until a final conviction is secured. This principle protects the children from stigma, harsh treatment, and premature labeling as criminals. This principle is provided in Section 3(1) of the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act of 2015. It is also recognized in Indian Constitution Article 21 and UN Convention on Right of the Child. Treating a child as guilty can permanently affect their mental health. Therefore, the principle of presumption of innocence protect the dignity and self-worth of the child, prevent any psychological harm, and encourage rehabilitation and social integration. Through this principle, the Juvenile Justice Act focuses on correction rather than punishment. Now we would see how the principle of presumption of innocence actually helps the child in conflict with law. First, it ensures child-friendly inquiry procedures. Second, it ensures that there should be no handcuffing or jail treatment. Third, child offenders are separated from adult offenders. Fourth, the confidentiality of the identity is maintained throughout the process. Therefore, the principle of presumption of innocence ensures that Police and Juvenile Justice Board provides human treatment to the child offender. The principle of presumption of innocence has been incorporated by Supreme Court in various laws to give a beneficial judgment to the children. In Pratap Singh versus State of Jharkhand 2005, Supreme Court emphasized beneficial interpretation of juvenile justice law. In Hari Ram versus State of Rajasthan in 2009, it was decided that juvenility can be claimed at any stage of the trial. In Sleel Bali versus Union of India 2013, courts recognized that children, even when involved in serious offences, deserves reformative justice. Now, we would try to understand how circumstantial evidence are appreciated in juvenile cases. Circumstantial evidences are based on inference from the facts. In cases where there is no direct eyewitness testimony is available, the facts are proved indirectly through circumstances, which include motive, last seen, conduct, recovery, etc. Circumstantial evidences are legally admissible. However, its use against children requires strict scrutiny. Unlike direct evidence, circumstantial evidence requires logical reasoning, and each circumstance must be proven independently. The appreciation of circumstantial evidences in cases involving children is subject to the following. First, child's mental health and emotional maturity must be considered. Confession and conduct should be viewed cautiously. Circumstantial chain must be stronger than in any adult trial. As children may act impulsively or under influence, court should avoid drawing adverse inferences from immature behavior. Now we try to understand the relationship between these two principles. Though circumstantial evidence is legally admissible, but it should not dilute the presumption of innocence. If there is any ambiguity, that should benefit the child. Therefore, we can say that presumption of innocence should override any suspicion. There is one important case which lays down the principle for appreciating circumstantial evidence. In Sharad Bidhi Chandra Sharda versus State of Maharashtra in 1984, Supreme Court laid down the 5 golden principles regarding circumstantial evidence and held that the chain of the circumstantial evidence should be complete. In this case, Supreme Court held that the conviction is invalid if the chain of the circumstantial evidence is incomplete. In 2003, Rajasthan versus Rajaram, it was also held that if there are two views possible on the evidences adduced in a case, one is pointing to the guilt of the accused and other to his innocence, then the view which is favorable to the accused should be adopted. These cases safeguard the presumption of innocence, and particularly these cases become relevant in cases where child accused is involved. Now, we can conclude that presumption of innocence is the cornerstone of juvenile justice. Even circumstantial evidence must respect the principle of presumption of innocence. Juvenile Justice Act, along with various case laws, ensure care-oriented justice for the children, not the punitive one. This series would be continued further helpful to explain other like important aspects as much as juvenile justice in detail. And subscribe to our channel. This would be helpful for all the individuals, including professionals in legal field. Do continue to watch this series and share your feedback by way of comments.